Hey everyone! Welcome to Be the Change. My name is Lily Mott, and today I'm going to be talking about how change comes when you just do it. I have a very special guest who I am especially excited to feature this week because International Women's Day was just a couple days ago, and she has an amazing story to share. So, my guest this week is Tyler Newman, who is the founder of AfroPuff Chronicles, which is a Gen Z media platform that empowers women of color through art and writing. Tyler is also taking a gap year before she attends Stanford next year, and we got to talk all about her experience being a gap year student. I loved talking with Tyler and can't wait to share our conversation with you. So, let's get started.
Hi everyone, my name is Tyler Newman. I'm a current gap year student and also an incoming freshman at Stanford University. I am the founder of AfroPuff Chronicles, which is a platform for girls of color to become empowered and share their stories through art and prose. And in addition, I'm the founder of the Year of Mastery, which is a gap year program and network for gap year students by gap year students.
That was a perfect introduction, and I just have to tell you that I am a huge fan of AfroPuff Chronicles. I think you're doing such important work, and I'm really excited to be talking with you today. So, I'd love to explore why you started AfroPuff Chronicles a little bit. What experiences or maybe challenges have you faced that brought you to the position where you felt like you needed to start this media platform? Tell me what brought you to this point as an activist.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of AfroPuff Chronicles, art and writing had always been a means for me to express myself. So that was kind of the mediums that I turned to, especially when I felt a little bit out of place at my school, my high school. I had gone to the same school since I was 5, so that was an interesting experience in itself. But also, I was one of a few persons of color in my school, and also let alone Black people at my school. So sometimes it was hard to kind of find myself and I don't know, feel like I belonged in that space. So I feel like art and writing was a way for me to kind of center myself and express myself unapologetically. So I wanted to try and make a space like that for other girls as well, to find community if they're in a place where they feel like they can't find that anywhere else. So that's kind of where AfroPuff Chronicles came in. And at first it was a place for girls of color to only kind of share their stories through art and writing and submit their own pieces and art. But then it's kind of, especially during the Black Lives Matter movement, the summer, the resurgence of that, it's evolved to, in addition to that, being a place where people can come to get educated and have a lot of really interesting conversations about race or things related to diversity through infographics and a lot of art as well, and videos and video campaigns that we've done. So it's definitely taken a turn, but I'm excited to see how AfroPuff Chronicles continues to grow. But in terms of the Year of Mastery, the kind of thing that sparked that was because I was originally planning to be in the class of 2024 for college, but because of COVID and since I would be moving across the country to go to school, my parents are like, let's kind of stick it out and see what happens next year and see if things get better in terms of COVID, because it's a little bit unsafe to be going all across the country alone at this time. So I never anticipated myself taking a gap year, but it just kind of seemed like the right step at that time. So I decided to kind of lean in and embrace that. And when I was kind of thinking about what I was going to do for my gap year, I was very confused and kind of anxious about that, because it seemed like a year was a lot of time to fill. And a lot of the gap year programs out there that I saw didn't really seem like they were acclimated to this new kind of state that we were in, where a lot of gap year students can't travel. So a lot of those programs didn't seem like it fit the place that I was in now. So I wanted to create a platform that would kind of help me through my journey and also help other students as well. So that's kind of how the Year of Mastery came to be.
Definitely. So, kind of along those lines, can you tell me some about what you've been working on during your gap year? What have been some of your goals for this year?
Yeah. So besides kind of working on like the daily maintenance of the Year of Mastery and also Afropuff Chronicles, the two other things that I've been kind of busying myself with is one, the Woman of Color Conference, which is a partnership between Afropuff Chronicles, Generations, Dear Asian Youth, and Diversify Our Narrative. And we're going to be having a conference in March of this year, March 2021. So that's really exciting. So this is the first time any of us have put on a conference because we're all youth-led orgs. So we're really kind of learning as we go, which is really exciting. A little bit scary too, but I think we're getting through it. And so just kind of like leading our kind of partnerships team and our design team has been what my role has been. And the second thing that I've been doing mostly during my gap year is working on my own individual Year of Mastery. So each month I've been trying to do a different like skill or challenge. So this month I've been trying to do kind of like intensive like Mandarin study. So like trying to like study Mandarin each day and like recording myself as I go. One thing that I have noticed is that like sometimes it's really hard to kind of stick to a goal each month, and I just need to kind of give myself grace as I kind of like am interested in different things as the months go by. So I think that has been kind of interesting to see like how I've been inspired by the different passions and challenges that I do each month for the Year of Mastery, but how I also kind of like grab onto other things as well and grow overall.
That's awesome. Can we hear a little bit of Mandarin?
Sure. Oh my God, I don't know what to say.
About my name is Tyler. We'll keep it simple.
我叫你天宇。
That is so good. Sorry to put you on the spot like that, but it definitely sounds like you're doing much better at learning Mandarin than I could. So props to you for that. I would love to talk with you more about Afropuff Chronicles because it's such an interesting platform and it's such a great account, and I definitely want people to check it out. So could you maybe tell me some about the representation of women of color in the media, or maybe the lack of representation? I'd love to get your take on that and have you explain that some.
Yeah. So I think in terms of like the media space, especially I'm just like thinking of Instagram because that's kind of like the space that I'm in the most and most active on. I think there's a lot of like black voices out there and like BIPOC voices, but sometimes it's hard for them to get heard. Personally, that's been something that I've witnessed. And also, one thing that I have seen in the activism space itself is that there's not a lot of like accounts like Afropuff Chronicles where they're black led, and if they are, it's really hard for them to kind of get heard. So I feel like that's something that really needs to be improved like in the future because there are like I feel like especially during the kind of as I said the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement in the summer, it feels like there was just like a spark of a lot of youth-led orgs, things like that. And I feel that sometimes it's hard for like black voices to get heard now that it's become more like saturated space. So I think that there needs to be diversification of like those voices. And sometimes I do feel like they need to work a lot harder in order to be noticed. So I think that that's something that happens across all platforms. Like I know a lot of times I've heard like about like black TikTokers like not being able to get their like content out there or like on the For You page, and they have to work a lot harder as opposed to like other races and things like that. So I think that that's just a universal kind of problem, and that people need to really champion and also like listen to black voices and black creators.
I think that's a really important point to make, and I'm so glad that you're helping to amplify those voices through Afropuff Chronicles. So I'm sure that through your platform, you've gotten some great advice or heard some great quotes from creators or maybe other people in your life. Do you have any words of advice or words that you'd say you try to live by?
I don't know about advice that I've gotten, but like I do. like personally, like I have a book of like quotes that I have that I collect. So there are like some words that I do like to live by. Like um I love this one like quote from a Beyonce song. And it's I think it goes like there's no like ain't never seen a ceiling in my life, something like that. So I love that quote because like personally I don't like to limit myself, and also I just don't I see that in my life the only limitations are the ones that I set myself. So that's something that I like to remind myself of, and that like I can achieve anything that I set my mind to. So I think that's something that I like to guide myself with.
I think that's a really great quote. Really cool. Thanks for sharing that. So, as a content creator, what are your thoughts on taking breaks from social media? Do you think it's important to give yourself a break sometimes?
Definitely. I think I'm still trying to navigate that space because sometimes you feel a lot of pressure, especially if you're in a leadership position in like the activism space or just like the content creation space in general. And you feel like you have an obligation to those around you or that you need to speak on something. Like, for example, when the events at the Capitol happened, I remember I felt like this intense kind of like need to write something or like to post something or just kind of like have my opinions on like what happened be shared with the world and kind of share that with the Afropuff Chronicles community. So I spent like like 24 hours like working on this post. Like it was insane, with like some of my other staff writers, and like we were just pouring into this post. And like afterwards, like it was great and we got it out. However, like that one piece kind of reminded me that a lot of this activism work does kind of take a toll on you, and it's like emotionally draining and like mentally draining. So you need to take some time for yourself and know, and like this is something that I try and like remind myself of often. Like you don't need to like comment on everything or like have a post on every like event that happens in the world. Like you need to take time for yourself, and like the people in your community like would understand and like things like that. And I think that taking time for yourself and having that balance only enriches the content that you make later on. So I think that's something that's really important for content creators.
That totally makes sense. And I think it's also a great point that taking a break is only going to enrich the content you make in the future. That's definitely a point that so many other people have made on this podcast, that taking a break is so important in any work you're doing. So, I also want to kind of switch gears a little bit and ask you a question that I like to ask all of my guests. Lots of young people, particularly college students, want to create change and they want to make a difference. What advice would you most want to share with these people who may not know where or maybe how to get started?
Yeah, I'd say that there's never a right time to start. I think in general, it's hard, especially when you're starting a new like venture. Because you think that like you need to start at a specific time, or you're just really scared and you don't know like if people are going to be receptive of like whatever you're going to put out into the world. And sometimes I go through like a really long like incubation stage with whatever I'm trying to put out there. And I definitely went through that with Afropuff Chronicles in the Year of Mastery, just like spending weeks thinking like, should I actually post this? Like, should I launch this? Like, will people even like it? Like, will they think it's silly? Things like that. So I think just kind of like thinking about why you're launching it in the first place, like why this is valuable to the world, like what value is it going to bring, like things like that, and kind of getting clear on your passion and like mission behind it is amazing. And just like don't let anything else get in the way of that mission, like other people's perceptions, things like that. Once you're clear with that mission, go forth and like start it. I think that the thing that you just need to do is like just do it. That's it.
Tyler made so many great points in our conversation, but I want to highlight those last few words she said. Just do it. Whatever you've been putting off, or if you've had an idea or a plan you've been kicking around, get it done and make it happen. Because if you don't, you're always going to have that little voice saying, what if, in your mind. I think Tyler is living her life as a testament to this, with starting Afropuff Chronicles and choosing to take a unique path with her gap year instead of starting college right away. Tyler has had these great goals and ideas in her mind, and she's just making them happen. It's super simple. So, of course, the thought I want to leave you with is change comes when you just do it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and you can follow Tyler on Instagram at TSSimone, and you can check out Afropuff Chronicles at Afropuff Chronicles on Instagram as well. If you want to talk about anything I mentioned, please reach out to me by email at lily@bethechangepodcast.org or on Instagram at bethechangepodcast. Tune in for my next episode, but until then, be the change you wish to see in the world. Bye, guys.